We welcome you into the Small Ball Podcast alongside Christian Dennis and Trevor Micklin. I'm Scott Ayers. Boys, we have quite the show. NBA season is here. We're in full swing. But for us, it doesn't really feel like we have hit our strides for the NBA season. The Sacramento Kings and the Denver Nuggets have yet to win a basketball game. So this isn't even segment one. This is literally segment 0 for us on the show because we need to take a moment. The season has hurt us so far.
Am I hitting the panic button yet? No. But am I thinking about it? Yes.
If there is a case over the panic button, I just put the case up.
Yes, for sure.
And, this feels like Christmas just happened and you're super excited for the latest, video game and you got socks.
Yeah. And coal.
Yeah. It's just the hype.
And I don't even have a fireplace.
The hype is so real for the NBA to start up, and this sucks.
It's one thing, too, when you lose that opening game, you're like, it's a bummer. But you know what? Just working some things out. It's when you see that second loss come in, because now it's like, oh, wait, maybe my team is bad. And those thoughts will continue to build until you see that first one of like, okay, yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
We just know the importance of winning games in the Western Conference, especially against Western Conference teams. Like, every game matters. But I do keep telling myself, hey, 82 game season. Yep. It's only 2 games. Maybe they'll go on a run.
I wish I was like, because with Denver, it's like, all right, they got to figure some things out. It's okay. With my fantasy team, it's like, oh, I stink. I need to sell this team. Yeah. It's unbelievable. My brain can't comprehend keeping the same track for both things. It's like, I can be okay in one area and the other, it's like, it's all a fire.
Right. I have Bam Adebayo, and he has not looked like himself. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, do I need to trade him for a second-round pick right now?
For sure.
Like, I need to flip him while I still can.
That's how I am with Tyrese Haliburton. I'm like, this guy actually stinks at basketball. Yeah. And we've been tricked all these years.
Let's not panic too early, boys.
No panic, because guess what? The NBA season is back, and for all NBA fans, I think it's that time to rejoice. And to start the season, I think we all focus on our teams, but this is when, viewership is at its highest. So, guys, my question to you is, has there been a team that's stuck out to you as a team that you've had fun watching outside the Kings or the Nuggets or whoever else you like to
start, because I feel like you guys may pick this team. I got the Orlando Magic.
Yeah.
They've been playing really good, and they're 2-1. They're 4th in defensive rating and 4th as well in opponents' points per game. They've looked really good. Their defenders being almost everyone on the roster, mainly Suggs and KCP. KCP added from the Nuggets this offseason. He's fit really well with them. And Franz and Paolo have been playing so well. Paolo has been that guy. We're going to talk about, players that we think could take the jump in stardom from being, like a good prospect. I think Paolo's already solidified himself there last season, and he's even taking another step, it seems like, this season. And the question for Orlando has been like, who's going to play alongside him? Who's the guy that's going to be the star next to him? Because in this league, you need multiple guys. Franz Wagner, they signed him this offseason. People thought it was an overpay, and it has not looked like an overpay. Last week, he was named as a nominee for the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. He averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists to help lead the Magic to 2-1. So a great start for Orlando, and they're a fun team. I love watching Suggs play defense as well. That dude is an animal.
He's a dog. Yeah, and that's exactly what they'll need from Jalen Suggs, because backcourt will continue to be an issue, or not an issue, but a question for Orlando.
Right.
But Jalen Suggs can kind of put those questions to rest with his play. KCP obviously hurts my heart as a Nuggets fan, but I do hope he just continues to flourish. And I mean, defensively, that team is going to be a problem every single night. Jalen Suggs is a great defender. Guess what? So is KCP. So,
yeah. In the modern NBA, it's rare to find teams like that who their main thing is defense. That is their main thing. Sure, they have Paolo, who's obviously an offensive, very, very talented offensively, and Franz, who could facilitate and stuff like that. But their main push is on defense.
And Paolo might be the most underappreciated number 1 pick.
Definitely.
We're 3 years into this. He continues to be an amazing basketball player, and it's like he doesn't even exist. It blows me away.
Yeah.
He's so good. And he's going to be a big reason why Orlando's going to make a deep push in the playoffs this year.
Let's go, Scott.
You like that?
That's a great comment at the end.
I have to say, that wasn't the team I was going to pick.
I like that.
Okay.
But I like the pick.
Thank you.
The team that I've been enjoying watching, and they haven't really played anyone that good other than yesterday in their loss against the Thunder, is the Atlanta Hawks.
Nice.
Dude.
This team, like, it actually makes more sense on paper.
Yeah.
The way that this team is constructed. I mean, there was like when they traded for DeJounte Murray originally, we were like, whoa, this is going to be sick.
Right.
Great backcourt duo. And then it just didn't work out. And then when he got traded, it was like, oh, you guys didn't really get anything like that good. But Dyson Daniels next to Trae Young makes so much more sense. He's actually a legit defender, and he's big. That's huge because Trae Young is a smaller guard. Dyson Daniels, he is disruptive on defense, and he is a really good playmaker. So that just adds another element to their offense. And surprisingly enough, his shooting has been pretty good. I mean, everyone has knocked him for being a terrible three-point shooter, and he's like decent. I'm not saying he's great or anything, but he's been decent so far. And then also, too, Jalen Johnson is such a fun player to watch. He's super athletic. He's bouncy. He can do literally everything. I was talking to Chris, and I was saying, like, he's everything that the Hawks wanted in, like, John Collins.
Yeah.
In that John Collins experiment. Yeah. He's actually legit. And I'm just excited to kind of watch how the Hawks perform, because honestly, the Hawks have been a team I've always been kind of down on. And I'm not saying that they're going to be a play-off team. I still think they're going to be a play-in team. They're just going to be fun watching throughout the season.
The thing that sucks with like a guy like Jalen Johnson, who's been so fun, so good, he falls into the similar thing with Paolo, where it's like, no, your typical NBA fan, like just your standard base level fan, they're not going to know who that is. Mm-hmm. And it's a shame because that guy is such a good basketball player, and he's kind of emerging into, I wouldn't say stardom, but he's emerging as a really great player and piece on Atlanta. And your everyday fan isn't going to know who that is because the media only covers 4 teams.
He's one of those players where like he just like could randomly be like a one-time all-star.
Definitely.
For sure.
Like
that's actually a great take.
Just kind of
a
random player that got in that year.
Yeah. And he
and deservedly so.
Deservedly so, and he has a great career. Like those are the kind of players I would love to have on my team. Wow. Shout out Hawks.
Well, I'm going to pick a team that has had just some random guys step up, and that is the L.A. Clippers.
Whoa.
Which is random, but you talked about low expectations for the Hawks. Going into the season, I was like, man, this team, and they could still very well be a play-in, not make the playoffs, but I've just been really impressed with, they've had players like Zubac, Norm Powell step up. James Harden's played actually pretty darn well for them. And I love their new arena. I want to watch every single home game that they have with the Wall. They have probably my favorite owner in the NBA with Ballmer.
Yeah.
This is a team that maybe they're not going to wow you with the names on that roster, but it is a start that you want to see. Their only loss was a game that they honestly should have won against the Phoenix Suns. This Clippers team, I think it's just fun. This is what happens when you move all these stars. I know Kawhi's out, and who knows how they'll play with him back. But I've just been impressed with their start. I've been impressed with their arena, and I want them to have a lively fan base. I want someone to compete against the LA Lakers, and this is a good start.
Yeah,
I would agree with you. I think the Clippers, and I've said this multiple times, whether on the show or off the air here, that I think the Clippers as a team makes a lot more sense than when they had Paul George. There was too many mouths to feed, and also when you're looking at the team now with Kawhi injured, is James Harden is a regular season player. He is going to put up numbers. He's going to help you win games just because of how dynamic he is. I mean, he said it himself. He's a system. And so it's like, I think that they'll be able to stay afloat. I don't think that they'll be a play-off team, but I really think that they'll compete for the play-in. A lot of like media is just like, oh, the Clippers are going to be dog water this year. Like OKC has their pick. They could get Cooper Flag with the Clippers pick. It's like the Clippers, in my opinion, I don't think will be that bad. They'll be a lottery team, but I don't think that they're so bad to where it's like has a high chance of, that pick turned into the number one pick.
And, they might have had some questionable offseason moves, but one move that I think has been a hit has been Chris Dunn. I know it's someone that a lot of even Denver media was considering to be a good pickup, and he's just been such a solid piece off the bench for them. He played 28 minutes in that game against Golden State last night in their win. And then Norm Powell in the Denver game, he scores 22 points in the fourth quarter. That's what you need when you let guys like Paul George go. Other players will have to step up. They've gotten that. We'll see what the rest of the season looks like, but it's just been fun to watch. I love the rebrand. I love the new stadium. That's what you need to do. Separate yourself in LA. I wish they were in San Diego, but that's besides the point.
Yeah. That's another story for another day. But one team that I think we need to talk about that has not lived up to their expectations in week one. And I think it stems mainly on their star player. Guys, what in the world is going on with Tyrese Haliburton? This guy is a media darling. Everyone won't stop talking about how great Tyrese Haliburton is. And he is playing terrible. Absolutely terrible. He's averaging 12 points a game. He's shooting 20% from three-point. And the worst part is he's averaging under 4 assists per game. This guy has been known to be a double-double machine and putting up insane amount of assists and shooting at a high clip from three-point percentage. And he's not doing any of that. And you were kind of, at least I was expecting after the year that they had, after playing for Team USA, he was going to come in and just kind of dominate right off the bat. But he's just looked really, really bad.
And the thing is, too, he kind of got it going in the second half against Philadelphia. He had 4 threes in the second half. He hit a great shot to force things in overtime. Yeah. But then some of those things crept back up in overtime. He had an errant pass that was luckily not turned into a turnover. But more importantly, he gets fouled. Caleb Martin makes a horrible decision and fouls him, intentionally fouls him. And then it turns into a great decision because Haliburton misses the first free throw, so he intentionally misses the second. Philadelphia rebounds it. They win the game. And that's just something you can't have happen in your star player. Your decision-making has to be sound, and you have to come up in big moments. And he did fail them along with some of the other players in that overtime against Philadelphia. It just hasn't been impressive. And he's a playmaker, and he has been playmaking. And when that's all coming together, you're shooting 0% or 11% in games, that's just not going to work. It just won't. And so, luckily, it's early season. Things can be turned around. But guess what? Now he gets to play against the Orlando Magic, who we just talked about recently, has probably the best backcourt defense in the NBA. Yep. So, good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been outplayed every single matchup this season so far, each game. And I don't want to overreact. Like, I don't think any of us are. I think it's healthy cautiousness with Tyrese Haliburton, a young player who we think has the potential to be the best point guard in the league. I don't think any of us would say no to that. And Tyrese needs to step up. This is early season opportunities for him to learn, honestly, learn some lessons and turn it around. Like I think he will, and I think we believe Agreed. That. But I also think for Pacers fans, I think that there is some valid concerns with the roster construction. I don't think that this team is built to make another run like they did last season, to benefit off of injuries and matchups like they did in the playoffs. Not saying that that you guys don't deserve credit for making it that far, but I think if you look at it realistically, it's like a duo of Haliburton and Siakam with the role players they have around him. I don't think that's enough, if I'm being honest. And I like the Pacers. I love Tyrese Haliburton. I think that, there are moves maybe this season, maybe in the offseason that can be had. But I'm just saying that, have some cautious expectations for this team. This is another year where I think that they could take large steps. I don't think that they're contending, but not overreacting on Tyrese's performance thus far.
One of the things that kind of bugs me with teams, and maybe it's just because it's just unrealistic of what I would want them to do, is whenever you have a good year where you pretty much overperform.
Yeah.
They always decide to just run it back.
Right.
And it's like, no, you clearly overperformed, and you can clearly see that your team is not at a level that can go to the next step.
Yep.
So why aren't they like doing something to kind of take themselves to that next level?
Someone that didn't do that this offseason, Oklahoma City. They had the best season. They outperformed expectations. They played better than they probably should have.
Absolutely.
And what did they do? They went and traded for Alex Caruso. That's what you're supposed to do. Turn around, make your team better. Don't run it back thinking that Obi Toppin is going to freaking grow. It's like, dude, make changes, adjust, get better every offseason because every other team's doing that.
They also got Hartenstein, who hasn't even played yet.
Right,
and
dude.
It's like, oh, they look like the best team in the NBA, and they're missing their starting center. Yeah, and that's the final thing I want to touch on is I think Indiana is banking on some of these younger players to develop, and we just haven't seen it yet. And so, Mathurin has played better. He missed a lot of time last season.
Yep. Those
are the guys that are going to have to step up, though, and I don't think it's enough, though. Even if they do step up, you mentioned Obi Toppin, but, what about Nembhard? What about Neesmith's a little bit older, but Jarris Walker? I mean, these are guys that Jarris Walker, we had talked about like, oh, he could be something. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He has been a nothing burger in Indiana.
he had one good game.
He's had,
yeah.
But it's like
he hasn't done much.
Yeah, he hasn't done much.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they'll turn it around, I believe. Should we move it along? Let's keep the show going, boys.
Yeah, let's keep it rolling.
All right, you guys. So every season there are new stars that rise in the NBA. And after week 1 week of the NBA season, what young player is looking like they're ready to take that step into stardom after 1 week? What are those reactions for you guys? Who do you got?
The player that I think is ready and his team needs him to be ready, Evan Mobley.
Yeah.
Evan Mobley for the Cavs. The Cavs need a big who can score.
Yeah.
They have great guard play. They have a great defensive team. They're just missing that like second scorer, with Donovan Mitchell being awesome. And I think Evan Mobley in his first game against the Raptors, he had 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. Like, if he can get to the level where he's averaging numbers similar to that makes the Cavs team really scary. I mean, currently they're 3-0. Like, they're a good team, but they were, based off of last year, they were clearly missing some pieces that could take them to the next level. And maybe Evan Mobley is that piece that can help elevate their team to get past like the second round, go to the Eastern Conference Finals, get back to there at least.
Yeah, that's the player that I actually had picked. I have another backup though, and I agree with you. I think Evan Mobley is primed to take that step, and I've been a criticizer of Evan Mobley for the last couple of years because it's like, dude, people talk about this guy like he is a top 5
for sure,
like front court player in the NBA, and he hasn't been that. But I think people are reacting to the flashes they've seen, and he's been playing like that this season. The most encouraging thing I've seen from Evan Mobley, a player who I've been critical of his three-point shooting. Last season he shot better, 37%. This season he's shooting 43% from 3. And if he can continue that, man, that opens up the floor for a Cavalier team who their front court is massive. Jarrett Allen has been amazing this season. And if they can have another floor spacer out there in Evan Mobley, the Cavaliers are really scary. And Evan Mobley he's playing great. He's a great defender, 2.3 blocks this season so far. Definitely a guy that I think is ready to take that step into being a star.
Well, I have someone who has pretty much the biggest window or opportunity to become a star.
Yeah.
He actually has a chance, in my opinion, to be the scoring leader when all things are said and done. I'm going with Cam Thomas.
Whoa.
How do you like that for a scorching take?
Leader?
Yeah.
Sell us, bro.
And here's why. There's not much in Brooklyn right now.
No.
There's not much.
They got the Brooklyn Bridge, and that's about it.
That's about it. Not even Ben Simmons can save that team because he's always hurt. But let's talk about Cam Thomas, who he likes to go on these scorching runs. But this is something where now Mikal Bridges has gone. I mean, Cam Johnson, is he arguably your second best player right now? Dennis Schroeder, There's just not much, which opens the door for Cam Thomas. And you want to talk about a scorching hot start?
Talk to us.
How about a guy who's currently averaging 31 points per game and shooting 46% from beyond the arc?
Jeez.
Now, I'm not saying 46% is sustainable. It probably isn't. However, if you can even shoot 40% from three as Cam Thomas at the high volume that he's going to be shooting at, you're setting yourself up for an opportunity to average 30 to 32 points per game throughout the course of a season. You're going to need a little bit of help to be that scoring leader, but I think it's an actual possibility just because there's not much around him. He's clearly a great scorer, and Brooklyn needs it. So I'm all in on Cam Thomas this year. He's my fun rising star pick.
That is a crazy pick, but I like it.
Yeah.
I was literally watching the Nets versus the Bucks last night, which the Nets beat the Bucks.
Yeah.
Panic button for the Bucks. Let's consider that one.
Yep.
But I was watching the game, and Cam Thomas had 32 points last night. And I was just watching the game, I'm like, what in the world is Cam Thomas? Like,
Yeah.
like, what do you do with that player? Like, he theoretically should be a six man, but like, I don't think he would be that good of a six man just because he likes to just have the ball and just be a part of the starting group and just chucking shots. He's probably the best like shot maker when it comes to difficulty.
For sure.
Like he's like body like twisted, like his legs could be facing the sidelines and he's like squared to the basket. Like I don't know, it doesn't make any sense the shots that he's making.
The biggest criticism, and I'll recognize this as a Cam Thomas guy now, needs to maybe get that field goal percentage up. That's been his biggest issue because he's a high volume guy. If he can keep it around 48% from the field with the volume he's shooting at, I think that's great.
It's good. I got a pick.
Okay.
I got a player that has the ultimate green light. This guy is ready to take the step into stardom. He's averaging 22 field goal attempts per game. 11 of those are three-point shots.
Oh, my.
Jalen Green with
Whoa.
Houston. He is averaging 26 points this season. And Jalen Green had a great finish to last season. See, so he's a guy who came into the league and had high expectations, G League Ignite, and he didn't meet those. He was not good in year one. Year two starts, he's slow, and he really didn't look great. And then at the end of last season, he showed up, and fans are like, this is the Jalen Green that we thought we were getting when we drafted him. And so the question this offseason was that legit? Should we continue to invest in our young player? Who do we give the max to, him or Şengün? And Jalen Green has been amazing this season. So that was not a fluke to end the season. He's been balling, and he's shooting on those 11 three-point attempts. He's shooting 36%. So the guy is a high-volume shooter. If he can keep that three-point percentage there, he's going to be mid-20s, mid to high 20s in points per game. He'll be a player that is looked at as a star by the end of the season.
It's going to be interesting to watch Jalen Green's progression throughout the year because the Rockets are just – it's like every day there's a report that they want a certain superstar.
Yep.
And so when you think of that, you're probably thinking, oh, maybe like a guy like Jalen Green is added to that to kind of sweeten the pot. And Jalen Green signed a really interesting rookie contract.
Really interesting.
Extension.
Yeah.
It's a 3 years, like $106 million, but the third year is a player option and there's a trade kicker. One, I don't even know why Houston even signed up for that because it's like all signs are pointing to them potentially trading him for a superstar if they can get it. But if they don't, you got to go all in with Jalen Green.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's hard to like go back and forth with a player and be like, hey man, like you're really good, but we might trade you. It's like, you got to pick a side, be like, hey man, we're going to trade you or you're our guy. And with the Rockets and how their team is assembled, like they have a lot of great players. You know, they probably have too many players.
Yeah.
And so, but none of those guys that they have are an elite scorer like Jalen Green is. And so that's where we're going to see Jalen Green just really take over.
Yeah. The biggest thing for Green is similar to a player we already mentioned, is just the field goal percentage. If he can be just even somewhat efficient, that is how you get into that star and superstar level. Because anyone can get to 30 points based on 30 shots, right? It's really when you can get to 30 points on 15 shots, 10 shots, right? Where you can get to the free throw line. And, he's such an aggressive player that's something that I think he should push himself for. 10 shots is obviously crazy, but 15 shots, 18 shots, 30 points, that's just an example. But that should be something that he strives for every night.
Yeah. So we'll continue to watch those three guys, see how they grow as the season progresses. This is one weekend. So these are potentially going to be looked at as, dang, those were terrible takes. Only time will tell.
Only time will tell.
Those are small balls, young players that are going to be stars. I got another segment for you guys.
What?
We're going to do another Mount Rushmore.
Yes,
and
I
Christian,
love Mount Rushmore.
you're on the hot seat this time around. We are doing Mount Rushmore of defenders in the NBA, current players.
Oh, this is easy. You're supposed to give me hard ones. Last week was a little difficult.
Yeah.
A lot of people were thinking I was going to say DeMar DeRozan at the end.
Right.
I mentioned the mid-range, but I went with KD. But when it comes to defense, first player that comes to my mind, two-time NBA champion, Drew Holiday. There's a reason why he's on these championship teams. And, I mean, like they say, defense wins championship. And if you have an elite guard who can defend, I'm going to say 1 through 4. I'm not going to say 1 through 5. 1 through 4.
Yeah.
That's key to winning.
His switchability as a point guard is unlike we've seen recently.
Absolutely. Number 2, I'm going with Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Good pick.
Giannis is 6'11" and can guard literally 1 through 5. He is always there for kind of getting those blocks at the rim, good steals. He's excellent on the fast break. He wants to get on the fast breaks, and the best way to get on fast break is to stop him on defense.
Those first 2 picks, safe picks, great picks.
Great picks.
My third pick, the guy that I think is going to be Defensive Player of the Year this year, Victor Wembanyama.
Ooh.
I like that.
He is an animal on defense. He's so long and lengthy. He just gets blocks by just standing there. He probably blocks shots with his head. He doesn't even need to stick out his arm or anything. It's just a block.
You can walk right by Ryan.
Come on through, Ryan.
Hustle through.
This is
Ryan
good for the
Andrews.
show. Ryan
Go
Andrews,
Spurs. Go
everyone.
Spurs.
Of course, Ryan walks in and when I'm talking about his Spurs. I'm saying Victor Wembanyama. He's going to be Defensive Player of the Year. That's my prediction.
All right, let's keep it rolling.
All right, the last guy, a guy that you probably didn't think I was going to say this. The most underrated center in the league. He was first team all defense last year. Herb Jones from the Pelicans.
Herb over Rudy?
Herb over Rudy.
Wow.
And here's why. Herb Jones can guard multiple positions. He can guard 1 through 4. I'm not going to say he's guarding 5. But he can guard multiple position. He was a first-team all-defensive team last year. He had 167 steals and blocks, which is considered like one of the 4th best in terms of adding those for the team last year. And he's just an elite, long, lengthy defender. He can guard your best guard. He can guard your best forward. It doesn't matter with Herb Jones.
He's so active on the defensive end, even in passing lanes. The dude just seems to always find a way to deflect passes, pick someone. He's up there, dude. I like those 4. Those are 4 that, honestly, if I'm looking, those may be my 4 as well. I think that was a perfect 4 for 4.
I'm going to go, you went 3 for 4. Wemby's a great pick. I'm going to go with my anchor, though, Rudy Gobert. I mean, there's a reason why he's won all these Defensive Player of the Years. He can only guard 5s and 4s, but there's a reason why wherever he goes, he anchors a great defense.
He's such a boring fourth, though, but I respect that.
I mean, it all depends on the team's defensive strategy.
For sure.
Like, their strategy is to funnel everyone to Rudy, and so,
I think that there's a lot of options for that fourth spot. You got Lou Dort, right? You got Chet Holmgren. You got
Caruso,
Suggs, Derek White.
Didn't SGA lead the league in
Jaden
steals
McDaniels
last year?
SGA and Fox.
Yeah.
Both tied.
And you wouldn't consider them, but it's just like, man, there's a lot of great defenders in the NBA.
Yeah.
It's a tough fourth pick.
It is tough. And you know
Keon
what?
Ellis.
I'll probably get absolutely...
Christian Brown,
Keon
I'll probably
Ellis.
get absolutely railed in the comments, but...
You're going to get attacked for that Herb Jones pick. But maybe the NBA sickos are going to be like, this guy knows ball. I think they will.
Herb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Herbie fully
He
loaded.
said herb, and he's smoking that herb. I don't know why I did that.
I like it, though.
Yeah, I do, too.
We are
All
a
right.
hip-hop podcast.
We are, yeah. People...
This is it.
Remember when the Drake-Kendrick stuff was going on? We were the go-to...
Yeah, we broke it down.
I miss our Bachelor content.
Oh.
You know there is the Golden Bachelorette that's going on.
Not interested.
No, I'll pass.
I like it when it's young dude making bad decisions with 20 young women, and they're all being dummies.
So entertaining.
That's so entertaining. All right, before we end the show, let's get it in writing. No explanation. You've got 5 seconds. MVP finals matchup. Go.
Christian's up.
MVP Jason Tatum, Celtics versus Thunder.
Who wins?
Thunder.
MVP SGA. Boston versus Denver. Denver in 7.
What a homer.
You're such a homer.
Homer Simpson.
I got MVP Luka Doncic. Boston versus Thunder. Boston takes it.
Our first back-to-back since KD and the Warriors.
Wow. No one's beating Boston, dude.
Unless there's a team in the Rocky Mountains.
I would love
Can
that.
you take me higher?
The mile high.
That's my only hope, and it's not going to happen. But I believe. No, I don't believe.
No, you don't. You're such a
Russ
homer.
is going to turn things around tonight against
In
the
Russ
Raptors.
we trust.
You're going to be...
Switch your MVP pick to Russ.
Russell Westbrook is my MVP. For Christian Dennis and Trevor Micklin, I'm Scott Ayers saying so long for now. We will see you next week.
Can you take me higher?